I think we just had David jump in with us. How are you today, Mr. McBride?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry I'm so late.
Yeah. Oh,
David, thank you so much for coming on. I do want to give our viewers just a background on you. And for everybody that's watching, David McBride is a whistleblower who is facing potentially 50 years in prison for blowing the whistle on the Australian Defence Force for their highly politicized leadership. David, thank you so much for joining us. And I would like to give you the opportunity to describe your background, your position with the Australian Defence Force, and also if you could take us back to that moment where you decided to blow the whistle on this government
Okay,
entity.
great. I went to law school out of school, and then I went to Oxford University in England, and I then decided I didn't want to be a lawyer just yet, so I joined the British Army, and I was a normal army officer, which I enjoyed. And I've kind of been an army officer all my life. Eventually, when I got older, I went back and became an attorney in Australia, mainly doing criminal law. And then I ended up in a kind of a full circle, an attorney for the army, the Australian army. And I did a couple of tours of Afghanistan with the Australian Army as a uniformed lawyer. That is, I was there to make sure that we followed rules of engagement and we didn't kill civilians and such things, and we knew what we were doing. It takes a while to become a whistleblower, and it's interesting what you said. I came from a family of people that always tried to do the right thing, and I was very much in the establishment, and I think that's one of the things that makes my case quite powerful. I was never an anti-establishment person. I believed in the rule of law. I believed in democracy, Western democracy. I had no problems when I first joined the army. The Soviet Union was still up, and we were manning the sort of Iron Curtain and the Berlin Wall, and I was very proud of all that. And I think that's what makes my case unique, in that, and I had very good reports, in that I had a very good career, and I think it's almost a progression from Julian Assange, who was obviously a clever guy but an outsider, and used his skills to get information from insiders. But then you've got Edward Snowden, who, while he was a contractor and had been a soldier, again was sort of a couple of steps removed. But in my case, I was very much within the hierarchy. I had the highest possible security clearance. I wore a uniform. I had a good career. And it took me a while to realize it, but I could see that what we were doing was not what we were saying what we were doing. And we were increasingly using the war on terror purely to win domestic elections. And we would, in broad brush, we would drop bombs on anywhere we wanted to, in order to win a midterm election, because it looked sexy to have the right, the jets, dropping bombs, and it looked tough. In fact, the whole reason we were in Afghanistan really was because it looked good. And no one really cared about whether we were going to win or not. In fact, but it takes a while for it to dawn on you when you try to correct what we're doing and say, look, this is not working. You understand this is not working. And you realize people don't care whether things are working or not. It's all about appearances. They want it to look like they're being tough, but they couldn't care less whether we won the war or whether we improved the situation. it was really all about sound bites, 7:30 TV slots. As far as they were concerned, appearances were winning the war. And obviously, I could see that was illegal. One of the hard things about being was it wasn't easy to get anybody to agree with me. And if I went to the mainstream press and tried to explain this, people that were like, oh, that's all a bit complex. What's the difference between reality and appearances? And is it such a big deal? And it wasn't easy. I thought I'd get a pat on the back and a promotion when I first tried to make my reports. First, I just made internal reports, you know, and wrote them and thought that someone would say, yeah, look, you're right. We got a bit carried away in the heat of the moment. It's a war, and we can see that we have strayed from what we're meant to stand for as Western democracies. But no one ever said that. In fact, they just turned on me. And it became quite hard to get the message out. In fact, that's what my plan A was to have a kind of a Watergate thing where I'd get some very good investigative journalists who would ask the hard questions of the administrations and prove that we were just doing things for show. That wasn't so easy. And in some ways, that situation in America in the 70s was a fantastic example of the best case scenario. But today, that, you know, the politicians have got so many more media consultants and stuff, it's harder to do that. My plan B was what I've done, and that is to get charged with a criminal offence. Because while it's a bit of a high-risk strategy, it's the only way. Being a defendant in a criminal trial is about the only way you can get the issues to be looked at out of the spin doctors and out of being steamrolled by the government propaganda.